Hey guys, it's your girl Aisha, aka Geek XX Chic, and we're back with another reaction to Titans. We are now in episode 9, which is called Atonement. How fitting after last episode. So my last episode review was quite lengthy, but I feel like it was a really deep episode on a lot of levels. We dealt with a lot of really kind of like realistic but deep emotional issues and a lot of layers between the relationships within Titans and how Jericho tied into their dynamic, as well as we learned a little bit more about Deathstroke and his relationship with Jericho and their family dynamics. So even though it was only 50-ish minutes, we got a lot of information, character development, and a lot of character in-depth storytelling, which I personally like because I feel like that's what gets us more attached to a story. That's what makes a story richer. And it's also a very smart move to make when you're on a show that doesn't necessarily have a massive budget to do tons of effects and crazy fight scenes. And, you know, when you're living in a superhero world, those are the kind of things that people can kind of get high expectations about. But as I said before, they're making the most of having a smaller budget and being on a streaming only type of show by really giving us these deep, rich character driven dramas, which is great. We know now the story of how Jericho died, I say again in quotes because we're not 100% sure yet that he's dead, but we at least know how everyone thinks that he's dead at this point, or assumes that he is dead, and how everyone somewhat had a bit of a hand in him being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Dick has realized that this secret has to come out and that this lie he's been holding on to for 5 years needs to come out, and he's just gonna have to deal with whatever those repercussions may be, which may be in fact that the Titans break up again. And so without further ado, let's get into this episode because I'm very excited to see where we go now that it looks like we're back in real time, and we'll see how we go and chat about it afterwards. Okay, let's go.
I lied to you guys because I was afraid you'd leave this place.
Fair.
And me. I told you that Jericho was dead when I got to the church.
I was right.
You all deserve more.
Oh, look at Kory's face. She's so proud of him. Please don't hit him.
Lying sack of shit.
Expected that. Ooh, Kory was about to roast you. Don't you touch her man like that.
You don't decide what I do anymore. But anybody does.
Well, it's nice to know his dickish attitude's back.
I'm out, Tam.
Bye, Donna. Bye.
What's wrong with Donna?
Oh, Gar, no, my baby. You left him a phone. He got out? How? Did he destroy the ship?
You're leaving now?
Oh.
At least it's out now.
Aw, see?
I'll get over it soon.
See, this is why they belong together. Do you see how she handled that? I mean, she didn't really have the right to be mad at him, but still. And also, how cute is it that the only person he really cared about leaving was her? He's like, wait, not you.
Sister had
Blackfire's here?
no. But she sent her friends to kill the both of us.
You would have to circumvent my entire court.
They're all dead, my queen.
Well,
Like she wanted you and me.
details that should have been provided initially.
It's like his little soldiers that work on a need-to-know basis. He
Shut
got a kid
up.
killed. Who the fuck hired them?
Up.
You too.
Don't.
You played your part.
Exactly.
You all played a part.
Thank you.
All decided to keep it a secret.
So get off your high horse, sweetie.
Wait, what's happening? Sorry, Donna.
What was that in aid of?
I fucked up, Gar.
Yeah, okay. And you admitted it.
Yeah.
You didn't apologize for it. What
Exactly.
you do?
Exactly.
Call Bruce. Bruce Wayne? No, Bruce Springsteen. Huh?
Both are about as out of reach to Gar right now.
Thanks.
Aww. Gar's a good boy. Be great if you learn more about him. Aww. People keep leaving Gar. I'm not about this life. Justice for Gar. Pinto! The only loyal person in that damn tower.
Start date, June 21st. Operation Save the Titans.
So
Day
cute.
Alpha.
The green guy drinking the green juice. I see what you did there, show. Oh, I stand a man that keeps a clean kitchen.
It was the age of
I am so in love with crypto. I can't handle it. That was just day one. No wonder you're exhausted, yo.
But a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
That's right.
1,000 miles.
You're not focusing on the right part of the idiom, sweetheart.
He had anxiety that almost amounted to agony.
He'd probably do better if you open some windows, like literally. Okay, so much for civilization.
Blow out of here. Big country. Gas is cheap.
We just need to have some fun.
Where in the world is gas cheap?
Clothes and rent.
Take me to your universe, sir.
This sucks.
I know, sweetie. They do too.
Hi.
Ah! Ah!
Okay.
Wow!
Okay.
We had to talk about the naked here, Connor.
You're away? Wait, you don't remember anything?
Just little bits and pieces.
He was shot.
I remember.
I mean, you're Superman's son, right?
And Lex Luthor's.
Yeah, well, no one's perfect.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about him.
Our
Call and
Why? Oh, he's probably afraid that Bruce will take him. Please don't kill Feddai. No! I knew it! Damn it. No, 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 my baby. Oh, is he just under control now?
That's the heavy bag.
He'll destroy that, honey.
Shot.
Do you have a replacement? Yes, sang! That's coming from a real place. Come on! Yes! Yes! Nailed it! Well, alright, y'all. Apparently we be getting a Titan musical soon. Why is this so happy? I feel like a bad thing's about to happen. Hi?
It won't be like high school.
Ma'am?
Well, aren't you lovebirds cute?
We're not into threesomes.
Back off. We don't know you shit.
Hank!
Her junkie boyfriend was the one that got him hooked in the first place. Where were you when
Hank,
Alex OD'd and nearly died?
she's grieving.
Oh, that's right.
That's a woman with nothing to lose. I wouldn't underestimate her.
It's not over yet.
There comes the Lex Luthor brain kicking in. He is a nerd after all. Psychotic and murderous, but still a nerd.
Hi. My name is Dick Grayson.
Wow. See how this goes.
You should try it there. They might feel differently.
What's in there? Who's in there? I don't like it. This woman's vindictive. I don't like her.
Forever knowing that your Titan's family lives and breathes somewhere out there in the world. But you can never be with them.
'Cause if you are, I'll kill them.
Your job is to make sure that everyone stays safe and no one gets hurt.
And then steal their purses full of money.
Me dumb. I can turn into a tiger. No way.
Way, mister, I can crush things with my face.
What's a tiger?
Oh,
Whoa,
he can isolate?
that's awesome.
That is cool. I don't think he did that before.
Help, they're hurting me! Help!
No, 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 Connor. No. Too soon. Oh, whoa. Wow, things went south so quickly. Gar, like, what have I done? Gar. But I mean, I guess there's not much you can do. This is why you call Bruce Wayne when someone tells you to call Bruce Wayne.
You haven't always been so nice either. That toast you gave at your cousin's wedding about her hair. Huh?
He probably wasn't there.
I've been hard on her.
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Well, I'm a fighter.
And a lover when Dick's around anyway. Oh wow, that sounded so wrong.
For Christ's sake, we met in grief counseling, Don.
Damn.
We're practically defined by loss.
That is a dose of truth ain't nobody wanted to hear. Meow. I really don't think you should stay there either though, Don. I mean, Alice's sister, I mean, she ain't a super, but you don't need that grief. Is this ship actually here? I feel like this is just Blackfire.
That you couldn't find it in your heart to forgive.
Mm-hmm.
Let's end this game, Blackfire.
Good girl!
Feddai wasn't at the wedding when I joked about your hair.
I knew it. Called it.
I am so sorry.
Please. Hurry.
Wakanda forever, bro. Blackfire's about to kill him.
Love will reach.
Shit.
We could roll together. It's always been a dream of mine.
That's cute.
Have you asked Mother and Father?
They're dead.
Of course not. Bye.
Damn! Check-in made Blackfire. Okay. Okay. I'm down for this battle. I'm here for it. Let's get this sis on sis Tamaranian action, girl. Woo! Blackfire. For real. Do you know that leaving a bag in the middle of an airport is literally a federal crime? So you want to get arrested? Oh, Dick. What? Oh my God. And where's Rachel? What is happening? Woo! Y'all, the Titans are a mess of the hottest proportions. Well, guys, that was Atonement. And, it's very interesting because the term atonement is literally making, it's the idea of righting a wrong or giving penance for a wrong that was committed. And that penance can come in a lot of ways. I mean, this comes from back in biblical times, but sometimes, you know, in certain religions, if you've done a perceived wrong against God or against your fellow man, you would have to do certain acts in order to redeem yourself. And honestly, these things were usually for twofold reasons. One was that, especially if it was a crime or a wrong against a fellow human, as humans, we hold on to things a lot of times. Our tendency is to hold on to the negative feelings that we get when something has happened to us or we perceive something was done to us. And when we see actions from somebody else that are supposed to mark that there is this repentance, it sometimes makes us feel better or makes us feel as though they meant that they really were sorry, that apology was real. It's like a way of, you know, you're feeling pain because you caused pain. You know, kind of an equal measure way, you know, evening out the scales as far as the wrongdoing. But the other thing that some people do that for is also just so that maybe the person who's done the wrong, there's sometimes a belief system that they experience pain or suffering to some degree, that it will help them to remember so that the next time they might think of doing something of that nature again, that pain will come back and remind them as to why they shouldn't, right? It's a deterrent for future behavior or a repetition of said behavior. So in of itself, atonement isn't a terrible thing. It's not a bad thing per se, but there's some fundamental issues around what forgiveness really is and what it should mean. And this is why our world sadly is as messed up as it is. But we're looking at this. We'll follow Dick for a minute because this kind of started with Dick's lie, so to speak, to a degree, and his feeling the need to finally atone for it in the sense of it's been sitting on his conscience for 5 years. And even just telling the group was a huge, I'm sure, relief for him in some ways, in that he didn't have to keep this secret anymore. But when he went to go talk to Jericho's mom, I in the reaction I said I didn't know how I felt about it. And it was true in the sense of after 5 years, it's not to say it's ever too late to express your apologies or the fact that you're sorry about something, but I feel like I feel like Dick went there more for himself. And that's okay to a degree in the sense of I think he needed to do that. But I think the other thing was that if you go in with an apology, when you are truly sorry for something, it's not just about that person. Like, I do think to an extent God, stop saying Bruce. I do think that Dick was really looking for an accepting of his apology. I think he wanted to hear Jericho's mom say, it's okay, or I forgive you. But what's most important in any situation where something has gone wrong, whether you're the person who did something wrong or someone did something wrong to you, the literal definition of forgiveness is to let go. It's not about saying what that person did was right. It's not about saying that you think what they did was okay. It's about you letting go of all of the negativity and the negative emotions that have been tied up to what happened. Letting those go, letting the past be the past so that you can move forward and live your life fully and being able to embrace things fully. Forgiveness has nothing to do with the person who did the wrong towards you. It's about letting yourself go, letting those things that are holding you in this horrible place or in this horrible actions go so that you can continue to live your life. And if Dick had recognized that, I wouldn't, for me, and I know it's different for everyone. I'm not saying how people should handle dealing with these types of things, but if it had been me, I would have preferred if like Dick had gone there, not even gone in. If he had just gone to her door and said, look, I just have something that I want to say to you. And it's that, I'm sorry about what happened. I completely admit where I had my part in this. And I am very sorry that your son lost his life. And I'm very sorry for all the pain that I know it's inevitably caused you. And I just want you to know that. And I don't expect or demand that you forgive me. And I understand that you may never be able to do that. But I just wanted you to know that I do genuinely regret how things went. And I am genuinely sorry. And that's it. And leave. And if she needed to vent, if at that moment she wanted to scream at him and call him all the names of the book or whatever, then giving her that space to do that. But I feel like Dick was wanting, and I think that's what he's still looking for, is for someone to tell him that it was okay. And that will never mean anything. Even if she'd said to him, you know what, I've let it go, it's not, or, I forgive you. If Dick doesn't forgive himself, it won't matter what anyone says. Dick hasn't forgiven himself yet. So that's one of the main things that everyone was feeding off of when they chose to leave. No one in that group has forgiven themselves for what happened yet. Not even so much the death, but even the parts that they played. And I love that moment in the car with Rachel and Donna, where Rachel was like, get off your high horse here, Donna. From what we saw last week, you were perfectly on board with using Jericho for whatever means you thought were necessary. Now, I know she did not want him to die, but she was completely fine with him being used to whatever extent was necessary to get her revenge at that time. Dick took a huge, huge, huge L in front of them, and he showed a very vulnerable side of himself there. And unfortunately, because they are not in a place where they've forgiven what they've done, he's an easy target to misdirect all that anger and all that pain. He's the target right now. But they're going to soon realize, as we saw with Hank and Dawn as they started to fall apart again, is that it wasn't Dick. Dick was not the problem. He was a convenient way to give them an excuse to try to run away from their feelings. But when they got back to Wyoming, back to the exact same city, which I have no idea whether they would go back there after their house exploded and someone died, especially considering that they were never going to tell the truth about that. Digressing, they're all going to start to realize, I'm sure one by one, that this is not about Dick. That they have their own atonement to do, their own sense of, again, forgiving themselves, that yeah, they did. They all screwed up. They all should have ended that sooner than they did. And it's sad because even coming back to the Dick situation, him talking to Jericho's mom, her refusal to forgive Dick for what happened is, again, nothing to do with Dick. It's about her. She played her own part, which again, I talked about a lot and in depth in my last review. She has her own part in what happened, and she hasn't forgiven herself for lying to Jericho and her part in that pushing him towards the Titans more than he probably would have been if she had been honest with him from the get-go. This is why I feel like this title is such an apropos one for this, because it really shows that atonement can mean a lot of things, but in the end, they all have to forgive themselves. And your atonement, if you feel like you need to pay some sort of atonement, it should be in the sense of bettering yourself as a person so that you can be a better contributor to the world in general. That is the best atonement you can ever give. But trying to punish yourself endlessly, that doesn't do anything. Like, as I said, it won't bring the person back. It won't bring Jericho back. For Dick getting arrested is not going to bring Jericho back. Hank and Dawn splitting up and being miserable, and Hank potentially sliding back into using again, isn't going to bring Jericho back or erase that guilt. What will help them is if they actually acknowledge it, let go, and if they want to atone, be better people. Be a better set of Titans that will actually help people and not, as I said, make poor decisions that might injure innocent people. They won't abandon people who clearly need them right now, like Gar and Rachel, who are both in ridiculously emotionally fragile places, including Jason. And now they're all out there. Jason with Rose, who God knows where her head is at, because she is Deathstroke's daughter, and God knows what happened to her before all this. Rachel, who has not been okay for a minute now. And then, of course, poor Gar. My God, let's, now that we're at that point, let's talk about Gar. This is the most that we've seen of Gar pretty much since the season started, let's be real. Which is really sad that we're on the 9th episode of 13 episodes. This is the first time we've actually had a good amount of time focused on Gar as far as lines and actual screen time. I am still not okay with that. I have ranted about this numerous times throughout this season, and it was really upsetting to me last season, but seriously, hashtag justice for Gar. In the sense of, this is sad that we're this far before we actually got to see more of him and actually get him having legitimate lines and screen time. But that rant is now over. Where they left this poor, poor, big-hearted kid, who, again, has been ignored on a lot of levels. Let's start with the fact that Gar is still ostensibly dealing with the PTSD of what happened to him at the asylum in last season, not to mention murdering a man with his bare mouth. Okay? He did that. Having to deal with all that. Still hasn't really gotten over all of it. Then, of course, being, chased around by a crazy demon man. Then having to witness one of his new friends get abducted by a man who could have murdered him and having to carry that guilt around. Gar's been going through some stuff. And unfortunately, this is what happens so much on, when you see, it's like, when you have parents who've got multiple children and like, maybe there's like the oldest kid that's like the problem child. And then they've got the kid who's generally always good. And then even though the kid who's generally good is going through stuff, no one cares because the kid who's like the badass who's doing all the horrible things, or maybe they've got a kid with special needs and like the good kid who doesn't, create a lot of problems just gets ignored because they're not a problematic child. That is so Gar right now. Like he feels the need to put on this brave face, this smiley, upbeat face all the time because most likely this is my guess, of course, because we don't know, because we still don't have Gar's backstory show. It seems to me like Gar has been abandoned quite a bit or left to his own devices quite a bit, right? We don't know what happened to him when the doctor from the Doom Patrol found him and ended up having to save his life. We don't know where his parents are, what happened. So he's on his own. From what we know, that he has no family. He's taken into Doom Patrol, but that's not really a family. He doesn't really feel like he belongs there. He feels no real connection with them. Rachel comes along in Titans and he starts to feel like maybe he finally belongs somewhere. Like maybe what he can do and who he is going to be accepted someplace. And now this family that he thought he just found has again fallen apart and left. And here's Gar, like he sat there after everything happened. He's looking at Dick and he's like, I didn't leave. I'm still here. Like I'm here because you told me to come with you because I thought we were going to be something. We started this thing like saying we were going to be something, like I was going to belong somewhere, and now you're leaving me. I stayed when all the people who've known you for years left, and all Dick can say is take care of the naked boy down the hall. And Gar, of course, smiles and takes it because that's what Gar thinks he needs to do because he thinks that's what's going to keep this threadbare relationship he feels with Dick from completely dissolving because now Rachel, who was the only other person he was super close to, and Kory have also bailed. So, I mean, I just look at him like, this kid is just screaming that he needs someone to talk to. He's screaming that he needs some sense of security, and nobody is seeing it. And I get it. Rachel's dealing with a lot right now. Kory has not been there because she's dealing with a lot right now. I get it. But it just breaks my heart that he's just this person who's just trying to do the right thing, but has no idea what he's doing, and also dealing with a lot of heavy shit too, and no one's seeing it because he manages to throw on a smile and care about everybody else and not, quite frankly, throw a fit or whine. If Gar turned into a tiger and trashed Titan Tower, maybe someone would have noticed, but he's not that kid. And as a result, he's sitting there alone, practically in the fetal position, because here he thought he was doing the right thing by trying to take care of Connor. And yes, I said it in the episode, and it's true, he should have called Bruce. Robin wasn't wrong, Dick wasn't wrong in telling him that he needed to call Bruce when he woke up, because there was reasoning, but Dick should not have left Gar with that responsibility. And Gar did the best that he could, but understandably, yes, Gar should have called Bruce, but I also understand why he didn't call Bruce. And we saw he barely made it 3 days on his own before he was completely lost, starting to slip into depression. And here he thought he finally found a friend, somebody who would stick by him when everybody else left. And now God knows what's gonna happen to Connor. Connor's now gonna be wanted. Luther Corp's gonna know not only is he still alive, but that he's out there and a wanted felon. I felt so bad. My heart went out to Gar in this episode so much. Here's Dick, basically like, screw life. I'm just gonna get myself arrested now because I feel like if I'm in jail, that will make me feel. And I know the reason he did it, because if he took off to Greenland, then he knows that people would eventually have found out that he went somewhere, and then you have to explain himself. But in the end, he's like, let me get my butt arrested. Let me get myself in a place where if the Titans try to blame me for why we can't get back together, I can be like, I can't do it, guys. I'm arrested. I'm in jail. Which is stupid because we all know he's not going to stay in jail. He's Bruce Wayne's ward. Like, Bruce is going to pay, he will buy all of the prisons if he has to get him out of there. Like, he's not going to stay in there. We know this. And the only person who shone in this episode as far as actually being a real friend was Kory. And again, I know that Kory had no vested interest in being angry at Dick. But that's one of the reasons I said over and over again that Kory and Dick are perfect for each other, because Kory never looks at Dick with judgment. Like, if she has an issue, it's with what Dick does, not with Dick as a person, if that makes sense. She never judges Dick. She would judge the actions that he does. And that's why Dick can feel, like, I mean, that's why I said even in the reaction, like, the only time he looked super worried was when Kory was leaving. He was like, no, you're not leaving me too, are you? And she's like, babe, no, like, I'm not mad at you. I got my own mess. That was just like, I looked at him just like, oh man, why does Kory have to go? Like, if there was ever a time for Dick to need to be there, or sorry, for Kory to need to be there for Dick, that would have been it. But she was off on her own storyline, which is the last part of the episode that I'll kind of talk about, which I'm not going to say a lot because at this point it is just starting. But we finally saw Blackfire, yes, and she looks like a queen, and she looks badass and saucy, and I kind of like that she's got a bit of an immature brat air about her, and we got a lot. Like, even though we didn't get a ton of scenes, we got enough in what they showed us to get a picture of what Blackfire has been through, and obviously all the pieces that built her into the villain of this story. And as I said, I kind of figured out that Kory is smart enough to have known that it wasn't Feddai anymore. Poor Feddai, by the way. Pouring out a 40 for Feddai. He did not deserve that. But I think I knew that she would figure out. I was really hoping that she'd figure out that this was not the same person. But it says a little bit about Kory that when she did figure out that her sister had obviously gotten into him, that she didn't feel any sense of compassion, right? You saw that Blackfire was clearly reaching out a little bit in that moment, being like, isn't there room for forgiveness? Isn't there room for the two of you to work together? Couldn't you like find it in your heart to work with her? And Kory straight up was like, nah, I made fun of her hair. Nah, like she never wouldn't have friends if it wasn't for me. So there's something going on there, and I really hope the show does take us through more of what has created this animosity. Because she also did say she's always been in my shadow. So there is a recognition by Kory that life wasn't easy for Blackfire, but I also wonder if maybe Kory had something to do with that. And that could be an interesting angle, because, you know, the Kory we've seen so far has been a badass generally in every way, which I've loved, but everyone's got, you know, just as Gar said to Connor, we've all got, you know, a good and a not so good side to us, and we've seen a lot of Kory's good sides. It'd be interesting to see the other parts of her where maybe she wasn't the best sister, maybe she was a bit of a bully, maybe she wasn't someone who maybe she was someone who didn't show enough empathy or recognize that her sister was being overlooked a little too much by her family. The way it's been presented so far, I think there's definitely some grounds, potentially very justified grounds, for Blackfire to have beef with Kory. But the fact, as I said, that she's still kind of reaching out to Kory and still being like, it's a dream of mine that we could have ruled together. And the fact that Kory's just shutting that down without any thought says, again, maybe there's a whole side of Blackfire we still don't know about, but also maybe Kory hasn't been the best sister. So we really don't know anything about Kory the Queen, or Kory the Princess, I should say, before this all happened. And I kept saying last season that I wanted to see more of that, and I was hoping we'd even get more of it this season, but we have a few more episodes left. We still have some time to explore that, and I really want the show to do that, because they really, to me, I think there's a huge opportunity for some really fun storytelling about Kory, who she was as a princess. Maybe she was a bratty princess too. There's a lot of story there to potentially unravel, and I hope the show doesn't just skip over that. Overall, guys, I thought this was really good, and again, really well written. We didn't really have a lot of action at all in this episode. We had a karaoke scene, which was interesting. I think that they're doing a really a good job with driving a lot of character development here in the right way. What did you guys think of this episode? How did you like your introduction to Miss Blackfire? Please leave your comments below. Let me know what you're thinking. And if you like this episode, guys, please click like. And if you want to see more from this geeky face, please click subscribe. Until next time, see ya.